Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, welcoming the NBA's all-time leading scorer, the one and only Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He has a new book out called Writings on the Wall, incredibly fascinating look into America and how to solve some of its biggest problems. I'm chatting with the great himself, so get ready for a great night behind the velvet rope. Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade. So as a longtime Lakers fan, I was actually telling you this during your HBO documentary premiere because I interviewed you there, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Today, I'm sitting with you, can't even speak English today, sitting with you, talking about your new book. It's called Writings on the Wall. There is some really fascinating stuff in here, man. You really, you make some really interesting arguments. Talk to me about writing this book. What was the inspiration behind it?
Basically, I'm kind of concerned about what's going on in America, and I've noticed some things over the past year or two, and I decided to expand on some of the articles that I had done for Time Inc.
It's incredible to see how you've gone from basketball player to essentially cultural critic and writer. Talk to me about that journey and being able to now lend your voice to social causes because you cover so much in this book.
Well, I think it's basically I started to prepare for this while I was in college. I was an English major, and it was important to me to have some kind of skill going on for me after I finished playing professional basketball, if I was going to be fortunate enough to do that. Of course, I did that for 20 years, and finally, I started writing and was able to get another career going.
You cover so much in this book, and you just said there's a lot of stuff not going right in this country. Talk to me about some of the things that really worry you and the topics that you wanted to dissect in this book.
Well, I think that there's a lot of people that are uncomfortable with the changes that have happened in America over the past 15 or 20 years. Just the fact that the complexion of America is getting a little bit more brown. We've had an African American president for the past 8 years, and there are a number of things such as gay marriage and the legalization of marijuana in places. Things are really changing, and a lot of people aren't happy with it. And I think Mr. Trump's call for "Make America Great Again" really is a voice for these people who don't like the way things are going.
I loved your appearance at the Democratic National Convention.
Thank you.
The Michael Jordan joke was great. I know Kathy Griffin gave that to you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about being able to speak at the DNC and just lend your voice to that.
Well, I thought it was a real privilege to be able to introduce the film on Humayun Khan. He's a hero of our country and a Muslim. And as a Muslim, I was proud of him as his family was.
As you lay out these thoughts, talk to me about the process in putting this book together and making these arguments. How do you go from A to B in writing each and every argument in this book?
Well, for me, it's important to be fact-based. So I have to investigate the facts and then try to figure out a reasonable position based on the facts. A lot of people have opinions. We're all entitled to our opinions, but we're not entitled to our facts. We got to know what they are. And I try to make sure that everything in the book is fact-based and trying to deal with the attempt, at least, to reach a solution, to discuss this in a way that enables us to find a solution.
We're going through such a unique period in America, especially on the racial front right now, and there's a lot of discord right now. Talk to me about what do you feel needs to be done to improve relations?
I think the thing that can improve relations really is communication. The fact that we can talk to each other and listen to the other side and understand their issues, their problems, and express our own issues and problems. I think that's how we reach a consensus. I think that's what the Founding Fathers did. What they went through to draft the Constitution was like pulling teeth out of an elephant. It was a difficult thing. There were days when certain factions from the various English colonies at that point, they didn't show up and they had nothing to say because no one would listen to them or they didn't want to hear the other side. But we got through it and we ended up with this wonderful document called the U.S. Constitution. and it gives us a template for solving problems.
It blows my mind how much of a history guy you are. Talk to me about, because I know you wanted to be a history teacher if you wouldn't, it didn't end up becoming the NBA's all-time leading scorer. Would you have been a history teacher?
Probably either that, or maybe I might have gone to law school or something. But history has always fascinated me, and I think it's really a great tool for problem solving, because we can use history, as Mr. Santayana said, those who do not understand history are condemned to repeat it. So if we use history, we can see what mistakes we made or what successes that we had, and it enables us to make wise choices as we try to plot a way through to the future.
What do you think about the craziness right now of how media plays into politics? Because we're in a different world right now. To see, like you had mentioned, whether you're a Trump fan or a Hillary Clinton fan, we're in a different world in how media can really control, manipulate, and play into the political movements.
Well, I think that media really can be used as a tool. It can be used positively. It can be used negatively. It can be used to sway people's opinions in a very negative way, especially if their research isn't there and it's not fact-based.
When you look at moving forward, where do you think, what do you think are the big changes that need to occur in this country?
I think that just economic equality is something that we need to work on. Poverty is a real burden for such a huge segment of our society, and we don't yet have the means to deal with poverty. Education is a key for people to lift up out of poverty, yet we don't have the commitment to spend what we need to spend on education to remedy this problem. So I think that's a real issue. I think it's central, and I think that when we get to the point where we can get to the point where we pay the teachers that have done such a great job over such a long period of time in our country, we got to get those people back on the job doing what they've been doing.
Got to ask you a fun question. I was interviewing the Final Five, the Olympic gymnastics team, this morning at the Today Show. What do you think about the Olympics? What do you think about the USA basketball?
Well, USA basketball has always been a source of pride for our country. We've done so well for so long. But, up until like the 1970s, U.S. college players could beat the rest of the basketball players in the world. And that's no longer the case. We got to send our pros and hope that they do well. So, the world is trying to catch up with us, but we still shine, especially the women's team. They've done incredibly well. I don't think they've ever lost a game in the Olympics.
When you look at, you were talking about athletes being role models today. Talk to me about having that platform, because we look at someone like you who has done so much on the cultural and political front when you were an athlete and then after being an athlete. Talk to me about the responsibility that athletes have as public figures to be role models.
Well, I think athletes are role models, whether they like it or not. Even if they're just parents, they are a role model to their kids. But a lot more than just their kids look at them. A whole lot of kids look at athletes. I remember how I cheered for the Brooklyn Dodgers when I was a kid, and Jackie Robinson and Roy Campanella and Duke Snider, they were my heroes. So I think that athletes have a very privileged position in our society, and if they understand that a lot of people are watching and taking their cues from them, I think that will force them, in some cases, to watch what they're doing and be the role models that they can be very effective at.
When you were a young man, were you aware of that at that point, or did it come through age that you realized that?
I think as a young man, I realized it because while I was in college, I did a number of, I had a job basically telling kids, you got to stay in school, get good grades, and go to college. And I started doing that when I was in college.
When you look at people reading this book, what do you hope they take away, 1 or 2 or 3 lessons?
Well, I think basically what the book is actually a plea for is that we need to start talking to each other over all of the things that divide us. We have to start talking to each other to find solutions for the problems that vex us. Systematic racism within our criminal justice system and things of that nature are a big issue for Black Americans. They got to learn how to talk about it and bring the issues up not with anger, but with concern, and express their concerns with other people who want to see America improve.
Are you optimistic or pessimistic?
I'm optimistic because pessimism isn't going to help anything, you know. So we got to figure out how to do it the right way, and we got to talk to each other and have the faith and belief that our fellow citizens are people of goodwill and want to see us have a positive turn on this.
So besides hopefully this being a New York Times bestseller for you, what's next for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Well, I got another book coming out. It's going to be about my 50-year friendship with Coach John Wooden. I think people might be interested in that, and I'm going to put pen to pad pretty soon and get to work on that.
I got to ask you about that because I followed your whole college career. What was he like as a person?
Coach Wooden was an amazing guy. You know, he was an English teacher. So we had something to talk about that had nothing to do with basketball. And you know, it was really a great thing because it enabled me to get to know him. He was a wonderful man. He wanted us to become good parents and good fathers and good husbands and get our degrees. He had a wonderful graduation rate, higher than anybody else I can think of that coached for as long as he did. So, you know, I'm very pleased that I made the choice to go to UCLA. I've never regretted it just because of my association with him.
You're awesome, man. Congratulations on the book.